Welcome to Future Vision Talks. I'm Jordan, and over this comprehensive two-part series, we will embark on a deep and unflinching financial analysis of the seismic predictions made by Elon Musk and Jensen Huang at the recent U.S. Saudi Arabia Forum. We will not shy away from the controversial, the shocking, or the seemingly impossible. We will dissect their statements with rigorous research, historical context, and a critical eye, all while ensuring it's accessible for those just beginning their journey into the future of finance. What you are about to hear is not just a summary, it's a critical excavation of a new economic paradigm. We are breaking this down into two dense, 8,000-word parts to do justice to the scale of what was discussed. This is part one. What if I told you that within just 5 years, the most profitable, most powerful artificial intelligence on the planet will not be housed in a sprawling, power-hungry data center in the desert, but will instead be floating in the cold, dark vacuum of space? This isn't science fiction. This is the direct, unredacted, and shocking prediction from Elon Musk. At a high-level forum, alongside NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, Musk stated, and I quote, "My estimate is that I think even perhaps in the 4 or 5 year time frame, the lowest cost way to do AI compute will be with solar-powered AI satellites." He doubled down, claiming that attempting to power the AI of the future on Earth is not just difficult, but impossible. This single statement challenges the entire foundation of our global energy and tech infrastructure. It suggests a multi-trillion-dollar shift in capital from terrestrial grids to orbital assets. This is the scale of the vision we are dealing with. This is the future they are building. And on Future Vision Talks, we are going to unpack every single world-altering claim. The conversation between Musk and Huang wasn't just a casual chat between billionaires. It was a blueprint for the next era of global capital. The setting itself, the U.S. Saudi Arabia Forum, is profoundly significant. For decades, the most critical alliance in the global economy was between the United States and Saudi Arabia, centered on a single commodity, oil. That alliance powered the 20th century. What we witnessed at this forum was the formal, public signing of the 21st century's equivalent alliance, centered on a new commodity, intelligence. The minister, His Excellency Abdullah al-Swaha, made this explicit, calling it a shift from energy-based economy to the intelligence age. This is the macroeconomic backdrop against which every one of Musk's and Huang's predictions must be framed. We are not just talking about technological disruption. We are talking about the re-architecting of global economic and political power structures, with capital and data now flowing through the same channels that oil and dollars once did. Let's begin our deep dive with the most tangible and immediately impactful prediction: the rise of humanoid robotics. Elon Musk made an extraordinary claim, one that seems almost comically grandiose until you apply first principles financial thinking to it. He said, and I quote, "Humanoid robots will be the biggest industry or the biggest product ever, bigger than cell phones or anything else." Let's critically analyze this. The global smartphone market is valued at over $500 billion annually. Is it conceivable that a market for metallic, human-shaped machines could surpass that? To understand this, we must dissect Musk's reasoning, which is fundamentally economic. He isn't talking about robots as niche industrial tools, as they exist today. He is talking about a universal general-purpose technology. His logic is one of labor arbitrage on a scale never before seen. Think about it this way. The global labor force consists of billions of people. Their economic output is their labor, for which they are paid a wage. A humanoid robot, once produced at scale, has a fundamentally different economic profile. Its wage is its upfront capital cost plus its ongoing costs of maintenance and electricity. Musk's entire strategy at Tesla, as highlighted by the minister, is to drive down costs through first principles thinking and scaling, just like they did with batteries. They dropped the cost from over $1,000 per kilowatt hour to well under $100. They intend to do the same for the actuators and motors in robots. So let's run a simple, beginner-friendly financial model. Imagine a humanoid robot with a final production cost of $20,000. That might seem high, but consider its utility. This robot could work 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, without breaks, benefits, or sick pay. In a manufacturing or logistics role, it might replace a human worker with a total annual employment cost of, say, $50,000. The return on investment, or ROI, for that robot becomes clear in less than a year. From a corporate finance perspective, this is not just an efficiency gain, it is a fundamental restructuring of the cost of production. The business case isn't just strong, it's overwhelming for any industry reliant on physical labor.
This is why Musk states that this will eliminate poverty. His argument, which we must analyze critically, is that poverty is not a lack of money, but a lack of goods and services. If you have a fleet of robots that can build houses, grow food, and manufacture goods at a marginal cost that trends asymptotically towards zero, the physical abundance of these essential items would skyrocket, and their cost would plummet. This is a supply-side economic revolution. The counterargument, of course, is the demand side. What happens to the purchasing power of the humans who used to perform those jobs? This leads directly to Musk's most radical societal prediction, that work will be optional. Let's pause and analyze this claim with the seriousness it deserves. Musk suggests that in a 10 to 20-year time frame, the concept of working for a living will become like gardening, something you do for personal fulfillment rather than economic necessity. He even references the science fiction of Iain M. Banks, where a post-scarcity society has rendered currency obsolete. This is a profound and dangerous idea for any financial system, which is predicated on scarcity. Our entire edifice of investing, lending, and saving is built upon the time value of money and the productive allocation of scarce resources. If the primary constraint shifts from labor and capital to energy and raw mass, as Musk suggests, then the very pillars of finance begin to tremble. But is this a utopian fantasy or a logical endpoint? Let's look at history. The first industrial revolution didn't make work optional. It shifted human labor from agriculture to manufacturing. The digital revolution shifted it from manufacturing to services. In both cases, the total number of jobs increased, even as the nature of work changed. The AI and robotics revolution, however, is the first to potentially automate cognitive and physical tasks simultaneously. Jensen Huang provided a crucial, evidence-based counterpoint to the fear of job destruction using the powerful example of radiology. For years, radiologists were considered the most likely profession to be automated away by AI. The opposite happened. As AI made image analysis vastly more efficient, it freed up radiologists to focus on higher-value tasks: patient consultation, complex diagnosis, and procedural work. The demand for radiology services increased because it became better, faster, and more accessible. The profession wasn't destroyed, it was augmented and expanded. This is the most likely near to midterm future, not mass unemployment, but mass transformation. Jobs will not disappear. They will be redefined. The value will shift from performing a repetitive task to managing, maintaining, and directing the AI and robotic systems that perform those tasks. The financial implication is a massive reallocation of human capital into new fields we can barely conceive of today: robot empathy trainers, AI integrity auditors, virtual world architects. The skills that will be in demand will be creativity, creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence, precisely the areas where humans still hold a decisive edge over machines.
This brings us to the engine of this entire transformation, the AI factory. This is Jensen Huang's core concept, and it is a masterclass in reframing a technology for financial and strategic understanding. He didn't just talk about faster chips. He articulated a new paradigm for computing itself. He explained that we're moving from a retrieval-based model of computing to a generative one. Let's break that down in simple terms. For the last 50 years, computers have been giant filing cabinets. You ask for a file, a document, a video, a piece of data, and the system retrieves it for you. It was pre-made, pre-stored. The new model, generative AI, is like having a master craftsman inside the computer. You give it a prompt, and it creates a unique, bespoke piece of content, code, or analysis for you in real time. It doesn't retrieve, it generates. Huang's brilliant insight is that this shift turns computation from a service into a form of manufacturing. An AI model like Grok or ChatGPT is the blueprint. The data is the raw material. The immense computing power of NVIDIA's GPUs is the factory floor. And the output is a newly generated, valuable piece of intelligence. This is why he calls them AI factories, and why he equates the data centers being built in Saudi Arabia to AI refineries. It's a perfect analogy. Just as an oil refinery takes crude oil and refines it into gasoline, diesel, and plastics, an AI refinery takes raw data and refines it into predictions, designs, and discoveries. The financial scale of this is almost incomprehensible. The minister shared two stunning examples from Saudi innovators. The first involved using AI to design new metal organic frameworks, essentially molecular sponges, to capture water from air and capture carbon dioxide. The second involved creating nanobots for gene editing to cure sickle cell disease. These are not incremental improvements. They are leaps into entirely new value pools. The market for carbon capture alone is projected to be in the trillions of dollars as carbon pricing becomes a global reality. The market for genetic therapies is similarly colossal. AI is not just optimizing existing industries, it is creating new ones from the atomic level up. This is the context for the stunning announcements made at the forum. Elon Musk's xAI, in partnership with the Kingdom, is building a 500-megawatt AI data center, starting with a 50-megawatt phase. To put that in perspective, a single megawatt can power around 800 average American homes. A 500-megawatt facility is a beast of pure computation, consuming enough power for a small city. NVIDIA is partnering to build supercomputers to simulate quantum computers, a project that requires almost unimaginable computational density. This is not speculative venture capital. This is the deployment of industrial-scale capital into the infrastructure of the 21st century. They are not betting on an AI app. They are building the roads, power grids, and ports of the intelligence economy. For an investor, this signals that the real, long-term value will not necessarily be in the software applications that capture headlines, but in the foundational picks and shovels providers of compute power, energy, and infrastructure, the NVIDIAs, the Teslas, and the nation-states that can provide the scale and stability for such projects. And this finally brings us back to our trailer, to Elon Musk's most audacious and critically important prediction, the inevitability of space-based AI. This is where his roles as CEO of Tesla and founder of SpaceX converge into a single, terrifyingly logical financial thesis. The problem is twofold: energy and cooling.
First, energy. Jensen Huang pointed out that the supercomputers they are building are massive, and a huge portion of their weight and complexity is for cooling. Musk then crunched the numbers.
The entire United States uses an average of about 460 gigawatts of electricity. If we wanted to scale AI compute to just 300 gigawatts, a fraction of what a true planetary-scale AI might require, we would be talking about consuming nearly 2/3 of the entire U.S. power grid for computation alone. To scale to a terawatt, as Musk says, is impossible on Earth. The permitting, the land, the political will, and the sheer physical challenge of building that much new power generation, most of which would be used to cool the chips, is a fundamental limiter on growth. His solution, therefore, is to move the problem to a place with infinite, free, continuous energy, space. In Earth's orbit, the sun always shines. There is no night, no weather, no need for batteries. Solar panels can be simpler, lighter, and cheaper because they don't need protective glass or framing to withstand weather. More importantly, cooling becomes radically simpler. On Earth, we use complex, energy-intensive systems with water and air to remove heat. In the vacuum of space, there is no air, so the only way to cool something is through radiation. You simply need to have radiators that emit heat as infrared light. It's passive, simple, and incredibly efficient. Musk's prediction that space-based AI will be cheaper than Earth-based AI within 5 years is predicated on this convergence of factors: the exponentially rising cost of terrestrial energy and cooling versus the rapidly falling cost of space launch, thanks to SpaceX's reusable rockets. He is essentially describing the ultimate offshoring, not to a country with cheap labor, but to a location with cheap energy and natural cooling. The financial implications are staggering. The first companies to deploy operational AI clusters in space would have an insurmountable cost advantage over their Earthbound competitors. They could sell intelligence as a service at a price that no one on Earth could match. This would create the most powerful economic moat in history. It would make the data center announcements we heard at the forum look like quaint, preliminary experiments. This is the grand interconnected vision they laid out. Humanoid robots will reshape the global labor market, creating both disruption and unprecedented abundance. AI factories will become the refineries of the 21st century, turning data into valuable intelligence. And to power it all, we will need to transcend the limits of our planet and move the core of our digital economy into the cosmos. This is not a distant sci-fi future. The partnerships, the capital, and the engineering are being deployed now. In part 2 of this analysis, we will dive even deeper. We will critically examine Jensen Huang's definitive rebuttal to the question of an AI bubble, where he masterfully deconstructed the entire computing landscape to argue that we are only at the beginning. We will analyze the specific financial mechanics of the U.S. Saudi alliance and what it means for global capital flows. And we will explore the darker, more critical questions. What are the geopolitical risks of concentrating AI power in orbital platforms controlled by private corporations? What happens to global inequality if this future unfolds unevenly? The conversation has only begun.
Thank you for listening to this comprehensive breakdown on Future Vision Talks. I'm Jordan. If you are serious about understanding the forces that will shape your financial future, you cannot afford to miss this conversation. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and ensure you are ready for Part 2, where we continue to separate the visionary from the viable and the hype from the hard truth. The future is not something that happens to us. It is something we build, and it's being built right now.